it's the new year. So if you're listening to this, like you probably have something big that you want to do. If our listeners are starting a side hustle, building their online business, trying to do whatever in the new year, like what is your advice of like, how do you set yourself up for success in 2023? You know, how do you actually make it happen and not have it be another year?
I think some people are just born with like whatever that is. That's just this like they are obsessed in this drive and all that kind of stuff. But I've seen plenty of people make it that don't have that. Yeah. What I've realized for myself over the last several years, like he talked about, I think I'm probably a wildly different type of entrepreneur than I was when we first started working together. And just I've changed a lot as a person for whatever reason. But one of the things that has caused that is that I don't argue with my brain anymore. Like I stopped letting my brain tell me, oh, you can't do this. Like you're going to make it this far, but you can't get further than that. And so like, when I think about what do I want my businesses to be? And it used to be like, well, I just want to be able to like sit in a coffee shop and hang out and chill. And then when I realized I didn't want that, it was like, well, I think I can build like like a high 6-figure kind of business, because I don't think I can do something bigger than that, and then it's like, no, I'm not going to let my brain tell me that I can't do that. Like, I don't know if that happens to you. I think it happens to probably everybody, but like,
oh, yeah.
If I think of like a big goal or like, what do I really want to try to achieve? And then immediately my brain's like, ooh, you can't do that. Cause like, then that means you're going to have to do this. And like, you might fail at that. So you might have to do this. And it's like, I used to kind of listen to that. And I don't know, it's probably over time, it's like, I'm not going to have this conversation with my brain. Like whatever animal part of my brain is trying to keep me safe, I'm not listening to that anymore. A big part of that too, like I don't even really consume a ton of his content, but like David Goggins talks about this stuff a lot with exercise, where it's like, okay, I'm going to do 50 push-ups and you get to number 30 and your brain's like, hey, you got to stop. Like, this is too hard. We're going to, he's just like, I don't argue with my brain anymore. It's like, no, we're doing this. Like we're going to 50 and you don't have a choice. And I've kind of done the same thing with business, where it's like the number of like a 20 million or 30 million a year kind of business scared me. And now I'm like, no, I'm not going to say no to that. I'm going to try to do it and see where I get. And so I think that for people that are starting this year, that, maybe they tried something several times and they're like, they never quite made it. If you are having that, where you're sitting there and going like, okay, I'm going to make it this year, and then all the doubt and fear starts to like creep in. If you're able to just tell your brain to stop telling you that you can't do something, and you just refuse to listen to that, and you just basically fight with yourself internally, I think you have a much higher chance of being successful, actually making it this year. But if you allow those like thoughts to creep in and like, oh man, I might not be able to do this. Like, what if I fail? Like, what if I can't get any clients? Or what if I get a client, but it's too hard or whatever. Like if you let yourself listen to that, then you're going to be in the same spot next year. 100%. Yeah.
I think it's important for people to realize that like there's multiple voices in your head, and the voice that talks to you the most is not you, right? It's
somebody else,
uncontrollable voice in your head that is pulling you to usually do the wrong thing. And then there's the voice you control, right? And it's the voice that talks to you sometimes when your conscience, right? Like you have control of it, but also sometimes it goes, is that really what you want to do?
Yeah.
But in a positive way. I think one of the best ways I've ever heard that explained is in Ryan Stewman's book, which is actually the top book on my little thing there, G Code, which is, he calls it the force of average. And the idea is that there's this force that is in all of us and around all of us, and it is the voice in your head that is constantly trying to get you to settle for average. And it's not just the voice in your head, it's the voice of the people around you who verbalize their internal voice to you because they don't believe that they can do the things that you're trying to do. And so this force of nature and this voice in your mind is always trying to get you to be average. It's trying to get you to binge Netflix. It's trying to get you to eat the entire pint of ice cream. It's trying to get you to not go work out. It's trying to get you to not reach out for clients. It affects everybody. and you have to learn to fight it. And that was very helpful for me in that book to like think about it that way, because it just gave me this understanding of like, oh, that's not me talking. Like that's the force of average talking. Like that's, me trying to settle, but I will say, if you choose that life, people talk about like you lose friends and different things like that. Like I feel very fortunate that I've kept my friends that I grew up with and that I went to college with.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that when I have conversations with family, acquaintances, friends, that I don't start to recognize that in them. And it's very frustrating because I see that and I want what's best for them because I love them. But they're living in that. They're being affected by the force of average. And guess what? I am all the time. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm this perfect dude that has it all figured out with my business and stuff. Hell no. It's a constant battle. But if you can win that battle, every time you win that battle, makes it easier to win it more until that becomes more of who you are. You have to kill who you are today, who you were yesterday, in order to be who you want to be tomorrow.